All right, welcome everybody. This is our organizational board meeting. It's January 11th at 6:30 p.m. And so I'm calling the meeting to order. The first item on the agenda are supervisor appointments. I am appointing Jim Smith as deputy supervisor. Jim, thank you for graciously agreeing to that. Oh, you didn't graciously? Okay. I don't see any bandages on your arms either.
Maybe they're on his head because his head's missing.
Okay, the next item is I'm appointing Linda Cashley as historian. Linda? Yes. So that's a good thing. Fire wardens. Mike McQuaid has been our fire warden, as well as Eric Johnson. So I am appointing them again. Eric has stepped up for many years. He was with the Pirates Fire Department. Now he's back with the Canton Fire Department, but he has agreed to continue with that role. And then as far as any enforcement that's necessary, he'll collaborate with Mike on the enforcement piece, should anything need to be done. So we appreciate them stepping up for that. Board committee assignments. So as we know, town governance requires a substantial amount of each board member. Committee work varies depending upon the needs of each department and the issue at hand. The purpose and role of town board committees is advisory only, to provide support to departments, facilitate communication between departments and town board, and bring recommended items to the full board for consideration. Assignments to citizen committees is for the purpose of being the liaison between the citizen committee and the town board. The deputy supervisor has additional responsibilities beyond committee work. And it's really big money too. Committee reports are reported out at regular monthly meetings. If committees are making recommendations, the proposal needs to be emailed to the board prior to the board meeting and request the item to be put on the agenda. Here are the committees. And as everybody knows, we have one open seat. So when I say blank, it's about that seat. So audit committee. On the odd months, it'll be Sanamore and Smith. Even months, Tayo and blank. Broadband, Tayo. Municipal Building Committee, Ashley Tayo. Code Planning Solar, Smith, Sanamore. Economic Development, Sanamore, blank. Highway, Smith, Tayo. Insurance, Ashley Sanamore. Justice, Ashley Tayo. Negotiations only as needed, and that would be Ashley Smith, but we got through negotiations, but if something should come up, it would be Jim and I. Policy, Ashley Sanamore. Recreation, Ashley Tayo. Shared Services, Ashley blank. Sustainability Liaison, Sanamore. Technology Communications, Tayo and blank. Trails, Complete Streets, blank as a liaison. Waterfront Advisory as a liaison, Sanamore. Those are the committee assignments, and there may be changes if we have another board member. Okay, everybody good with that? Okay. Board appointments. The first item is discuss town board open seat. We should table that until after executive session because we do have some things to discuss. Okay. Appointment of planning board member. John Casserly would like to be reappointed. He has served as a planning board member for 5 years, and so his term is up. And so I need a motion to appoint John Casserly for another planning board term.
So
Is there a second? All in favor? Aye. Carried. Zoning Board of Appeals appointment. Matt Scapidi McGuire has served us well, including the last year as the chairperson of that board, and he has graciously agreed to serve another term. So I need a motion to appoint Matt to the Zoning Board of Appeals. Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Carried. Dog control. The board has decided to take a different direction. Jim Pfeiffer has been our dog control officer for, I think, a little over 30 years. We graciously thank him and appreciate his work. We do have a person that has agreed to take over the duty and has agreed to the agreement that was proposed. And so Dan Moyer, I need a motion to appoint Dan Moyer as dog control officer for 2023. Second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Carry. Okay. Rules of procedure. We need to set the dates, time, and place for the 2023 regular board meetings. So this is the second Wednesday. We did switch it to 6:30. Was the board interested in continuing to do that? You good? Okay. So I need a motion to set those as the dates, times, and places. The place. I'll second that. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Carried. All right, the proposed dates for the joint town village 2023 meetings. We meet 4 times a year with the village of Canton, and those are the dates. They mirror what we've done last year as well. So I need a motion to agree to those meeting dates at this time. Moved by Bob Sandler. Is there a second? John Tayo, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Carried. Designation of official newspaper. We have, I'm sorry? I'm sorry? Papers, yeah, you didn't let me finish there, John. We have had, actually, we agreed to 3 last year, the North Country this week, Watertown Times, and the St. North Plain Dealer. So the Watertown Times and the Plain Dealer are under the auspices of Johnson Newspapers. So what's the feeling of the board? You want to continue with the 2 or keep the 3? What has happened is with the 3, our publicity budget has skyrocketed 200% because of the legal notices. We've been putting legal notices in each paper, and it's become a very costly thing to do. So
Well, just go for 2.
that's my recommendation is North Country this week and Johnson Newspapers as the official newspaper. Are we good with that? Okay. All in
Well,
favor?
if we say Johnson newspapers, is that 18 times? Or are we just talking about the Plain?
Well,
Because
it includes,
doesn't Johnson papers own the Times as well?
yeah.
So I guess we can be a little more specific, right?
The legal notice, I think we have to submit to,
We do Watertown. It doesn't ever say,
it doesn't ever go in the Plain Dealer.
we don't ever get an invoice back that says Plain.
I'm sorry,
I don't get like an invoice back that says Plain, it just says Watertown Times or North Country. So I'm not really sure.
So Tom is, I'm sorry, it runs in the Plain Dealer. Okay, so then
I guess we're down so many of them.
the 3,
Yeah. They're not billing us separate for the Plain Dealer, so. They're billing us as one Johnson newspaper, correct?
I can't say.
yeah, and Heidi
That's
does
what I need
all the legal
clarification on
notices.
before I vote.
Yeah, on the invoice, it only says Watertown.
Only says Watertown.
Yeah, it doesn't say anything about.
And I don't know that we've ever said, put it in the Plain Dealer, and if there would be an additional cost. I don't know.
Or can you say, put it in Plain Dealer, not the Watertown Times?
We're still gonna get billed the same amount, I think.
So not because of the circulation of it.
And there's an option to choose from 4 papers when you go on the creator ad. I don't know. What that is. There's 4 options, and I always pick Country This Week and Watertown Daily.
Hang on. Well, you take your time because we have it till 7 o'clock. And then,
So let me just
did
ask
you want to
this.
say something, Jim?
Well, I mean, we lost the plain dealers. and that Really didn't set well with the community. Now the plain dealer's back. We'd like to see the plain dealers stay. It's a Canton paper. I think we should use. So if we're just gonna do 2, I would say North Country Now and St. Mark Plain Dealer. The legal notice in the plain dealer is only going to appear once a week. Whereas in North Country Now, it can run for. No, that's only once a week too. That only comes
Yeah,
out
the
once a
print
week.
paper's only once a week,
They're only
but
once
it's
a week too,
online
so.
daily. You want to make a motion, Jim?
Well, we want to make sure that we got legal notice out there that we get it done legally.
But we have
When
them.
did you notice that it's skyrocketed?
When I signed for them. Yeah,
Well, it's just because we have a lot, like anytime we have a solar meeting, public hearing, there's a
Yeah,
meeting
so-
notice. The
so-
solar-
solar.
The amount of meetings, the
So
amount of
it-
public
It's
hearings.
not based on who we designate, then it's based on the number of times. It's skyrocketing because we're putting more notices.
Are we?
Right, but we've been putting them in 2
That's another
newspapers,
discussion. I know we don't.
so it's
I'm
2
with
different
you.
parties.
Yeah.
What?
Are we going escrow account for those legal
You
notices?
can't, that's administrative. We've talked about that before. You can't bill any, believe you me, I'd be doing it already, but our law does not allow for administrative. So, we can certainly look at that in the future, but, the town does bear some administrative costs for solar. Yeah, there's a lot, we've got Read Virtual Solutions that takes the minutes at these. We pay for that. Just staff time alone, believe you me, I'd be like charging them, but we did not include administrative costs. And if my memory serves me, Eric said we can't. But maybe that could be revisited.
So it sounds to me like the increase is not necessarily due to the number of papers that it's in. It's due to the number of advertisements that's going out.
That's what it sounded like.
And we send them to both papers. So,
And by
maybe,
doing that, it gets in the plan. That's what we do. We
I'm
wanna
not-
make sure
I'm not
it's-
sure
we
it
wanna
does.
make sure it's in the plan.
I'm not sure. Maybe we'll double check that.
I mean, can we force that to happen?
But can we force it to happen?
Yeah.
I don't know about that, but, Paul, North Country This Week just started doing legal notices a year and a half ago.
Mhm.
Yeah, so, that was, in the past, we just had the water.
If I may, the reason they have the Watertown Times is because with the weeklies, you get stuck with the deadline, and sometimes it's like 5 days before you have to publish it. You gotta go in Watertown. I think that's always been people's rush.
And I think there's a time
7
There's a
days, 5
timeline
days,
for-
it all depends on the legal.
for North Country This Week, there's a timeline too,
In a
it's-
pinch, they went with Watertown.
Yeah,
Right.
so,
So it's skyrocketed 200%. What did we pay last year for legal notices?
I just got 2 bills today for 2 public hearings. For 2 different sites with
I was gonna
$137.
say, I thought it was about 135 a pop, so.
Stop putting in for the affidavits. $20 difference.
let me see.
I mean, I just posted a public notice for my tax, because it's a bylaw, I have to post my tax collection twice for 2 weeks. And it was like 45 to one roughly, and I think the other one is a $10 difference to the other paper.
These are legal notices required by law. It's not getting in trouble with.
Right, right.
For,
So we
how many?
budgeted $2,000 and we spent in 2022, 4,071.39. So it's 200%. Of what was budgeted.
And I
So,
mean, depending on how you put it in there, it could be 1 column versus 4 columns, it changes the
Yeah.
price of your advertising, so. But that could be consideration too, I mean.
I'm not sure an online version
Well,
qualifies,
No.
or it's gotta be print.
Gotta be print.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd make a motion for plain dealer in North Country now.
is there a second? I'll second it. Any further discussion?
Well,
I
I'm
do have-
going over my mind what Mitch just said about the Watertown as a, just in case we need to get something out quicker than once a week.
But that doesn't mean you can't use it.
Yeah.
Because these are the primaries. We can always use something else if we needed to. Right. And that keeps us legal.
Because the question is, if you put it in Watertown, and it wasn't clean, if you put it twice.
I don't think so. I'm not getting billed twice for any advertising rather than
Right.
Watertown.
No, probably a freebie, right? One way.
Yeah, I've never had to.
And we don't request affidavits. The planning board has requested affidavits in the past, but it's $20 for them to send you a piece of paper saying, yes, it's going to be in there. It's $20 each time. And so we haven't been doing that because it gets in there. So, all right, so I have a motion and a second. Any further? Everybody good? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Carries. Okay, official bank depository. Community Bank's been our bank for years. They do a wonderful job, and so I need a motion to continue with Community Bank. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye, carried. All right, set mileage allowance. So we agreed last year that we would follow the IRS rate. It has gone up. You have a memo from our labor attorney to 65.5 cents. We increased it to 62.5 last year. So is there a motion to increase it to 65.5?
So
Is there a second? Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
aye.
Carried. All right, every year we need to approve the procurement policy and procedure. You have been, it's in the packet. Does anybody have any issues with that? See any changes that are needed?
I do, not an issue with that, but I do think that, given the times, I think this is we've been following this procurement policy for quite a while, but if I'm reading it right, if it says all estimated purchases less than 10,000, but greater than 3,000 require a written request for proposal, written facts, quotes, and vendor, less than 3,000, greater than whatever. If the highway superintendent wants to buy a set of tires for a truck,
I don't think he's included.
No, he's not,
He's
according
not,
to this policy.
he's not included in that.
oh, I think he has a false.
Yeah.
No, it says in here that he's not included.
There's a section pertaining just to him.
Wait a minute.
Yep.
Under certain paragraphs of it, but I think the highway superintendent has been following procurement
Oh,
policy.
it's right here on behalf of, yeah.
We can check that with Eric, but I do know that if they don't have to, that's fine, but in the past, it says that if they're buying off state contract, they don't have to.
Right.
I don't know where
And-
you can see that.
And all purchases in excess of 1,000 by any authorized person other than the highway
Oh,
superintendent
I
shall be
see.
approved by the supervisor. Purchases are not to exceed the budget amounts for the year,
Right.
that's 1,000. But it says all estimated purchases, and it said set of tires for a truck could run $8,000. And so, and we've discussed this at committee level, that, you know, what the highway superintendent's been having to do is piecing out what he's trying to do. And so you might see a voucher for, you know, X amount of money, and then you'll see another one for X amount of money, because, you know, you're following a procurement policy that doesn't allow them to too much spending. So, well, Eric's here, you can give him a copy of the procurement policy.
I mean, number 3, all purchases in excess of 1,000, other than the highway superintendent.
Yeah.
Anything over
You walked in at a
$1,000,
good time.
and as long as he doesn't surpass the
Do you want to
budget,
see this?
I think that answers that question.
And so what does, so 5 means everybody but the high, or everybody but the highway superintendent? It doesn't say it in that paragraph. If you're right in that 3 covers 4, 5, you know, whatever, then that's fine.
I think it does.
Well, we had all departments found.
I mean, it's not a bad idea anyways to do that.
To
Just
do what?
to follow it. I mean, but
Oh,
in
absolutely.
certain cases.
Yeah, that's why we have a procurement
Right,
policy.
that's why we have it.
But anytime, you know, the highway superintendent needed something, he's always come to committee. Committee's made a recommendation to the board, and it may override the procurement because of the need.
Right, or you can only buy it from one place.
The example last fall, trying to do a little bit of patch paving here and there. I could take and get, I think I was able to get, we were capped at $5,000. I think I was getting 4 loads a day. So I'd have to go to Sheehan's and get 4 loads, then go to Barrett's and get 4 loads in order to get anything done. It's, you can do it, but you just have to get creative, for lack of a better way to put it.
And
It's, you're still spending the same amount of money, you're just to get the job done, but you're having to jump through.
Let me ask you a question. When you go out to talk to these folks, do we get any kind of a guarantee on the tonnage rate? Prior
That's
to-
all set. Like on asphalt.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all county bid.
Okay, so that's my point. So by you doing that, you're following the policy by virtue of the bid from the county. Right? In effect,
So
Yeah.
you're,
but still, because of our procurement policy, like, if he's gonna do roads.
Yeah.
The committee sits down and discusses the roads he's gonna do, but he has to come to the board to get approval to spend that kind of money. And so,
Well, does it make sense for the highway committee to further discuss this?
well,
See
I
if
guess
we need to.
should be in- there'll be
I'm
another
not done yet.
policy.
Highway committee to discuss it, and then, you know,
we did.
Hmm?
We did.
but do you want different language in what I was gonna say? Do you want different language
Well,
in there?
If,
To-
it depends on what Eric says, if, you know, if he is, if 3 says that he can just go ahead and spend money, and that's good, then it's not an issue. But if you look at 5, and it doesn't include the highway superintendent, then I guess we don't have an issue, you know, just go ahead and, because he's not limited. All we were looking at was maybe changing that figure from 3,000 to 10,000. And maybe, you know,
I would, you know, the policy, if that's what you want.
clean up faults.
This is your policy. It's within the language there to place something that you want.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's easier to do that than bring our hands over.
Okay.
So the committee wants to send some language and some proposed changes and then. You wanna do
Yes,
that?
one.
If you just send me some numbers, I can.
Okay, great. I am making a motion to adjourn the organizational meeting. Is there a second? All in favor, say aye. Aye, carried. All right. We will start in 5 more minutes. Okay, get a copy of that. I do. Okay, there you go. Got it?
I love
Okay.
Sorry.
No. It gets
So I
It's been a lot of time.
like it. I like your shirt.
They actually give us a shirt.
Right.
Nice warm part. Hat. As long as you volunteer for minimum 6 shifts.
At what?
Minimum 6 hours.
So 36 hours.
Yeah, that's
pretty good. Yeah.
Right. That's still all right. Right?
So like if I want to draw stones or grab it.
And we're required to wear it.
I have a spare shirt.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like this fall.
They'll give you like a polo shirt.
I know.
It's
Well,
not-
although you're not,
It's all.
you're on ice and all that stuff. And
Some people are outside.
and that's what I'm saying. So you're outside.
There was one game that started at 4:30. My shift ended at 4.
Where are you?
I'm in the-
Oh, gotcha.
There's 2 games tomorrow.
What kind of crowd they had, that's all.
It wasn't very many people there when I left. Or it started.
So many today.
I'm worried about it.
The first game was today.
I know.
USA's not even in this bracket.
USA is not even.
They're not in this bracket.
So not.
They're actually-
Oh, there.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
We got Canada.
But that.
Tomorrow's game should be good. Morning, it's the Czechs. And then in the afternoon, it's Canada and Ukraine.
No. Brian does it.
I did.
He'll follow it.
Oh, got it.
You want to buy-
Thank you.
Bill's been there for 30 years.
Like RSV or something?
Actually,
Is it RSV?
When they get to December.
But they had
Yeah.
So we did it.
Oh, oh.
You?
Oh,
Yeah.
oh.
Come on, deputy.
Ours wasn't that. Well, I was.
Deputy dog, let's go.
Angela, okay.
Don't do that.
Wrong meeting.
Okay, I'm gonna be calling the meeting to order in like 10 seconds. Six, five, three, all right, I am calling the regular meeting to order. Welcome, everybody. Two things. I'm adding to old business number 5. We need to set a public hearing for rescinding the tax cap law that we passed in 2022. So we need to have that. Under old business. And then I'd like to start the meeting with the announcement that the historian's office is now open to the public, and the open house is next Tuesday from 4 to 6.
Yes.
And we're just compiling the list of the number of people that had made this happen, and it's getting longer. Yeah, yeah. So then I need to finalize that, but I encourage everybody, stop down. She's there during Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday from 10 to 4, and then 10 to 3, and then Thursday, 10 to 2. Okay, so our community is going to be profoundly surprised and excited, and I'm getting a little emotional because what they've done down there and our artifacts and how they're set up and displayed for everybody now. And there's still stuff over here in this building that we haven't gone through yet. But wow, that's all I can say is wow. So I encourage everybody to go to open house, but don't hesitate to stop down and Linda, she'll show you around, all right? But it's an exciting thing. It was the right thing to do, and I couldn't be more proud of the two boards making this decision. So, okay, enough of that. Okay, so the first item on the agenda is public comment. This is time for the board to listen, and we ask that you come up to the podium, and then everybody please speak up because it is hard to hear still in this room. Please identify yourself, and if you can keep it to 3 minutes so that we can allow everybody to have an opportunity, we appreciate that. So having said that, is there any public comment?
Just be careful that moves a little bit.
Hi, I've spoken before, so you're familiar. My name is Paula Jensen Moulton, and I'm on the Minor Street Road in Canton. And I am in favor of solar energy for sure, but I do have some concerns, not specifically for myself, for my own property, even though part of it might be across the way, but more just the impacts that it will have on Canton, on the scope and size of this project, which I think we've expressed before. But in light of that, I take walks. I go down Minor Street Road to the Eddie Pirates Road to Route 11. And it's about a 4.5 mile walk, and I do it every day, usually. And in the fall, I notice the birds. Tons of birds fly over. And I've always appreciated that. And we've been looking at the impact that a solar project of this size will have on not only Canton and its environment, but on the planet itself. And so it made me think of the birds that I see. And I happened to see an article in the Christian Science Monitor Weekly on bird migration. And it quoted from an ornithologist out of Cornell. And so it kind of perked my interest since we're close to Cornell. And I'm standing on my tiptoes here. Okay, that's better. I can do flat-footed. And so his particularly was the impacts of cities and the lights and the skyscrapers. But I was wondering, well, what about the solar panels for 2.6 square miles that might be not completely, but partially filled with solar panels? So I decided to email him with my concerns. His name is Andrew Farnsworth, professor at Cornell. And I went on a website and I saw that he did specialize in migration. And I learned some things. 50 to 60 million birds cross St. Lawrence County every fall in their annual migration. So he sent me, and he said, of course, he was in favor of solar. And he said, solar is something that's we need to do. But you are wise to question the impacts of a project this size. And he sent me 3 links, and there definitely are concerns. The looking like water, the birds come down, and they can't necessarily get back up. So there are things, and the articles were very in-depth, but I went through them, and so it is just a concern I have on the wildlife. There's other concerns too that I would have, but I just wanted to share that with you on the bird migration, because we certainly wouldn't want to lose that wildlife, and then the residual effects that it could have. So I found that out in December. It was in the December edition, and I thought I'd share it with you. Okay.
Thank you, Paula. Yep. Any other public comment?
Clark Cummings from 86 Riverside Drive. I've asked this question a couple times before, so I'm going to try a different angle. I've even reading the paper, other townships or villages saying that they either support or don't support a certain project for whatever rhyme or reason. I've even been to some of the village meetings, and the mayor says he's either for or not for something, and gives reasons why. So my question, and maybe I should be asking Eric, is there a legal reason why the board doesn't answer the question, you're either for the Rich Road project or you're not, and why? So that way we're better educated as to why you would or wouldn't make that decision. I don't know if that's something you can answer legally.
Is the board in agreement that Eric should answer that question?
I don't care. I can. Myself.
This board isn't the decision making before the project. They really don't have any business making a decision on it as a board. Right? There's individual members here. They don't have, it's not that they don't have a dog in the fight, they don't have a step in the decision-making process in terms of the project itself.
Is that because it's a New York State road project?
But on top of that, I'd like to say that if I was sitting out there as a resident of the town of Canton, my answer to you might be a whole lot different than what it would be sitting here, because sitting here, I have to represent everybody in the town of Canton. That's my job. And, you know, I got to keep an open mind about it. We're going to be looking at maybe having to deal with pilots or whatever. But I said, if it makes it a little bit, I think, more difficult for me as a board member to say, something. At some point, probably I'm going to get more vocal.
Yes, the only thing I would say, to see how we're, breaking the protocol a little bit, is that as a member of the community, we're sort of looking to you guys for like leadership and guidance, right? Because you're running the show a little bit, and I understand this is a state-run project. However, for me, I mean, if you said, hey, we think it'll be good for the village in the town because of this, and this, well, you're just educating me, and I'm not going to be like butthurt if you are for it or aren't for it. It just gives me more information, which maybe to make a better decision myself, whether to be behind it or not. I mean, I'm doing my own research, obviously, but I'm just saying, so I can't speak for the whole town, obviously, or the village, but me, if you told me how you feel or why you feel that way, I mean, that's your right.
I've sat here for over 2 years discussing solar as part of the solar law, whatever, and we rolled along for probably a good year and a half. No opposition from this community. And we made it known every single meeting. People need to know what's going on. This is huge. We said it. It's been out, the press has responded to it. Now, things are looking a little bit different. And so, it makes it. We're trying to keep an open mind as to how to handle this. At least that's from my perspective. I can't speak for the other board members.
You want to say anything?
I'd say I agree with everything that Jim just said. I wholeheartedly agree with that. We do have to represent every single person in the town of Canton. What our personal feelings on it are, unfortunately, we have to keep them aside. We have to, like Jim said, keep an open mind on not just this project, but every project that we do.
Well, and we did take the leadership position of putting a moratorium on solar projects. I think we may have extended it so that we could discuss and look at all the factors. Our planning board was involved with creating the law, and it's been, I think it's going on 3 years. So to put a moratorium on it and say, okay, nobody can come in until we really look at this and try to regulate it for the best interest of all the taxpayers. For me, I'm not going to take a position one way or the other. I represent every single person in the town. And I'm just glad you're here voicing your concerns so that we can listen. But I'm choosing not to take a position on this project because I represent the landowners as well. So,
and something is that me personally,
oh, could you speak up a little bit?
I'm learning too as we're going along, just
Yeah.
like our group is learning as we're going along. I don't normally read the local papers. I'm thinking about what's going on big picture. But since this, because the only way I found out was in the mail when they sent that little thing saying, hey, we're gonna put our thing in 90 days. Hell, I've talked to EDF 2 or 3 times. I've called some other people, done a few things just to find out and get more educated. But now I'm actually reading all the local newspapers. So anyhow, Watertown Daily Times, I think they suck online, and you got to pay for this and that, all this other kind of crap. With the North Country News or whatever that one is, their North Country Now, you can read that one every day online. That's where I'm finding out most of my information between that one, the one in Malone, the one in Saranac Lake. So now I'm getting more educated on the local stuff.
We
Well,
appreciate
we're pretty much in the same boat you are. We're still learning about solar.
Yeah.
It changes daily.
Yes, it does.
I'm not gonna sit here and profess to be an expert in solar because I'm nowhere close to being an expert. So.
Okay, so thank you. Any other public comment?
Well, I would just like to apologize for not necessarily being alert or aware of this as an issue. You know, I had read the plain dealer, but not the Watertown Times, and so it wasn't until that just got me started again.
Well, no
It
apology.
got kind of
No apology
But-
necessary, really.
Glad to
But
see
I am
people are
working.
finally showing up.
Yes,
Right.
no, this is what it's about. It's like,
That's what
yeah,
we've been trying to do for a long time, is to get you involved.
yeah. And not just with solar, you know, we got a lot going on in the town. So, okay, any other public comment? Brian, did you want to come to the podium, please? Okay, but that's our protocol,
we
just please.
No, oh my.
Your name, where you live.
Brian Burnett, Town of Herman. How much does it, I mean, you wouldn't have an exact figure, but like we have a similar thing with the Michael's going through with the big power line. People are complaining about roads getting destroyed and all that stuff. But they economically don't understand how much money is brought into like Herman. You know, how much would it be, other than the landowners and that economically? Will the town of Canton gain from that? Other than all the contractors staying here, you know, that like that Michael's power project brings in a ton of sales tax. People don't understand the economic value of that going through. But that's similar with the solar. Like all your contractors are gonna be here for however long. They're gonna be renting rooms, spending money at restaurants everywhere here. Not only Canton, but Potsdam, you know what I mean? Surrounding area. But it'd be interesting to know how much the local people will benefit from the solar project. And nobody has that exact amount, but people don't look beyond the end of their nose. You know what I'm getting at?
I do. And sales tax has gone up, so, you know, how do you,
You know, the New York, the Michael's project is Power Authority.
Yeah.
But that's big money. People whining about, you know, trucks destroying roads and, but it also generates a ton of money. But it'd be interesting to know how much the actual solar, not the people selling the land, or a lot of it is people are jealous. A farmer works his whole life and decides to retire, and nobody's gonna buy that farm. You know what I mean? Or they might buy it for land or whatever, but to keep, you know, the bigger farms to keep farming, but unlikely. But it generates a lot of money. Like the town of Herman, another example, they were gonna, we have excellent water there, abundance of water that we could sell. They, I guess years ago, they wanted to put a brewer plant there because of the pure water. But nobody wanted to do it because nobody wanted drunks at Herman, or they're supposed to be, but they're still there. You know, the people don't see how much, you know, and it's not all about money either, but it'd just be interesting to know how much the town of Canton is gonna gain from the solar project.
thank you, Brian.
Hi, Casey Maroney, 960 Irish Settlement Road. I just want to talk about, we're talking about how much the town of Canton is going to be receiving from these solar projects. I want to ask about how you guys look into, I mean, you can't really because it hasn't happened yet, and that's the problem. But 5-10 years down the road, how this is going to affect the actual farmer, how this is going to price farmers out of farming, how this is going to affect the feed stores, the equipment rentals, because what's happening is you're taking agriculture land that's normally rented for a few $100s for haying or feeding for that crop season, and you're turning it into $10,000 an acre. So you're pricing farmers out of literally renting land to hay their horses or to do things like that. So, talking to the Farm Bureau and whatnot, I'm just wondering, 5 years, 10 years down the road, how do you guys see this affecting? I mean, New York State's #1 prized possession in agriculture. And what happens 20 years down the road when California and Texas and everything runs out of water and they're looking to the Northeast to, I mean, produce all their food, and we have solar planes everywhere. So, I understand his point economically, but it's gonna be short term, because all those contractors are gonna leave. You're gonna have a couple of full-time workers trying to control this 1,700-acre solar farm, and where's it gonna benefit anybody after that? Thanks.
Thank you. Do you want Bill to respond to? Want us Bill to respond to that?
Okay.
Bill? Can you hear us?
Good evening.
Thank you for joining us. Did you hear the question that was just posed by one of our community members?
In terms of the overall economic impact
Well,
of solar,
that was one question, but the person that just asked the question about, do we know 5 to 10 years from now? Can you repeat it?
How is this going to impact the local farmer as far as renting land, taking care of the land, and the businesses that support farmers in the area?
How's it going to impact the local farmer years from now? Do you have any
Okay.
thoughts?
it's a very good question. It's a very good question, and I thank the young lady for asking it. You're going to take a significant percentage of your agricultural land out of production. There has been some discussion about what they call agrivoltaics, which is co-locating farming activities with solar. But that's a very early set of discussions. For example, running sheep, in that area. I guess the best answer is that, in my view, and I have been doing this for a long time, I don't expect those lands that are converted to solar to ever go back to agriculture. I think it's a permanent change. And I think the changes and the impacts should be viewed as permanent. Even though the leases are for a 30-year period, the interconnections, I think, are far more telling in terms of what will happen in the future. So I think the impacts are large, and I think that they're permanent. So that leaves the remaining agricultural properties in the town to carry the load for the agricultural industry in the town. So, I mean, the question is prescient. It's a change that is significant and long-term. How to quantify it is beyond me, other than it will be a social change as well as a physical change.
Is there any data out there about the economics? That was Brian's question about the economic impact of these projects coming in. Is there any data that you've seen, or Eric, have you seen? No.
Well, there's a couple of things I would note. I thought the board's decision to opt out of the tax exemption for solar projects, or renewable energy projects of any kind, I think that will ultimately drive revenue, tax revenue to the town. It may take some time before that's available, because there will be pilot agreements for a period of time. But I think the board's decision to tax these projects will ultimately be looked upon as a very wise move and one that will generate revenues for the town. So the only way that I can answer the question with numbers is the investment required for the EDF project is in the hundreds of millions of dollars. So they're going to put taxable structures in your town that are worth significantly more than what you have today. So ultimately, living with a power plant in your town is going to generate revenues for the town. And it may change the mix of the revenues, but in my estimation, the pure dollar value has to be higher, much higher, order of magnitude higher. That's my best answer.
Okay. All right, one more public comment?
Yeah, so in regard to that, there are a couple different timeframes. You got short term, so when all the contractors come in, everything like that, you get a 2 to 2.5 year period of time from when you get a breakdown, so you can start pumping out energy supposedly. Okay, so there's one set of income that's going to come in. Okay, and then you got your longer term, or maybe the next 5 or 10 years, and you got then more after that. So this is going to be a state-run project. Okay, and they're the ones that I think are going to be doing the assessments on the land, right? Aren't they going to like do everything? They're going to do assessments on the land, and then also I think they'll depreciate quicker because it is a commercial project or something like that nature. What I'm understanding. True or false?
There's a difference between the, oh, go ahead, Bill.
The assessment will be done by the town assessor. It will be pursuant to state policy, but it will be done by the town's assessor, not by the state. And the mix of revenues will change over time. I mean, that's clear. But I think in order to really calculate what the value to the community is, I think you have to look over a longer time frame. I think a 30-year time frame or even a 50-year time frame would probably be the best lens to try to monetize what the value of this investment will be to the ordinary citizen in the town, the local taxpayer.
Okay, I'm gonna keep moving on with the agenda, so thank you, everybody. County legislative representative update. We do have our new representative here, Ben. You haven't been there very long, but do you have any updates?
Yes, I'm hot off the press. Well, if I haven't had a chance to meet everyone, my name is Ben Hall. I live in Madrid. I now represent District 8, and so good chunk of District 8. So it's a pleasure to be here. I do want to say how much I believe it's important that at the county level, the town level, and village too, that we're communicating actively and effectively, and I'm looking forward to that. I think it's you know, there's really not a place for talking about, well, you know, power and influence and importance. It's really about how do we serve our community, how do we serve, you know, our neighbors, and that's what I want to help do in little ways and big ways. So I'm really looking forward to that. I attended almost every single legislative meeting this year, 2022, leading up to the election. So I've thankfully been able to become introduced to many of the issues. Still, you know, still building out the framework of my understanding. So if there's something that you want to bring to me, discuss, I'm all ears. My information is on the county page. If you run into me, I'm happy to talk about any issue. And so thanks for having me here. What I'll do is do my best if I can't be here physically to have something maybe available in writing if there's relevant updates from the county side. But that, you know, that's by direction. So I'm looking forward to that. Thank you.
Okay, any board members have any questions of that at this point?
No, thank you for reading here.
Absolutely. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. All right, I need a motion to approve the minutes of our regular meeting on 12/14 and our year-end meeting on 12/29. Moved by Bob, is there a second?
Second, but I noticed one minor change on the year-end meeting. It was a morning meeting, and at the end of the minutes, it said we adjourned at 10:56 p.m. or whatever it was.
Well, that was a long
That was a
meeting.
long day.
Okay.
Just know.
Okay, Anything else? All in favor, say aye. Aye, carried. All right. Correspondence, let's see here. I have an email from Rainbow Crabtree. Everybody got a copy of that, but I'm gonna put it in the formal record and hand it to Heidi regarding solar. So I'm submitting that. We also got a letter, which you got a copy of it from Barbara and Brian Lee regarding solar. I'm entering that into the record. We got a letter from Georgia Vos to the Canton Town Board about the Ridge Road project as well. I'm entering that into the record. So he'll knows. But just this afternoon, I did get an email from the Red Cross, and they would like our assistance in promoting blood drives. We've helped with that in the past. There is a blood drive coming up on January 17th from 12:30 to 5:30 at the Best Western. And I think if you donate so many pints or something, you're eligible for some type of drawing.
Drawing.
Oh, get it? I didn't even like do that on purpose either. Let me see.
You win some.
Oh, here it is. Oh, this is big. So when you come to give, January 1st to the 31st, you'll automatically be entered for a chance to win an exciting trip for you and a guest to the Super Bowl in Phoenix. It includes travel, hotel, a $500 gift card, and pre-game activities and more. So I think that's, that's a nice gift if you go give, right? All right, so adding that on.
8 crowds.
Shocker. Okay, town financials report. Hi, Angela.
Good evening, thank you. We have presented in advance the December 2022 town financial reports, and just as a quick note, these are the preliminary December 2022 numbers that we're looking at. All of the funds ended in a surplus position with the exception of the general fund, which did end in a deficit. The projected fund balances are also listed on your summary sheet in the front, and I just want to draw your attention to the general fund in particular, because that was operating in a deficit situation. The recommended fund balance limit, and it is about 17% of your appropriation amount, and the town of Canton currently sits at 30. So it's just to point those on the top too. So it's not unhealthy by any means, but it's we've got to work to strengthen that. Looking at the cash position of the town of Canton as well. The numbers presented in cash are what we would expect to be in line with the operations, and the balance year over year does on the surface high level show an increase, but we do also have an increase very similar to cash held for special purposes. So there is an amount in there. Almost 1/3 of that is held for special purposes.
I just want to add, our revenues for the justice fees, we projected 132, 355, and we only took in 84, 815. So we only fulfilled 64% of that budget item. And then there was a few items that, that we also did that comes out of the A. The zoning update, that was a cost. But in the B fund, we're in pretty good shape. So commend the board for, and thank great for all the hard work. We did have a short conversation, Angela and I, about, there is going to come a time, probably in March or April, that we're going to do an inter-fund transfer into the A account. But we'll be able to assess that more in a couple months. So, anybody have any questions? Okay. I'm sorry. Town clerk, sorry.
Did you want me just to do the number side of that?
Yes, please.
So we did also review the town clerk's work report and prepare that as well. So the December revenue comprised of decals and fees, all of which not surprisingly balanced out and will be sent out to the appropriate recipient of all of that. Total funds collected were 1,008.
Heidi, did you have anything to add on that? No. Thank you. All right, audit committee.
Alrighty. Very good. Yeah. you good? Fund A, 34,127.10. B, town outside, 16,248.76. Townwide highway DA, 21,779.85. Special fire, 45.88.83. Special lighting, $300.63. And finally, trust and agency, 22,549.17 for a grand total of 99,594.34.
Okay, so I need a motion to approve expenditures.
So
Moved by Jim Smith. Is there a second? Bob Stanamore, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, carried. Okay, department reports. Heidi, would you like to go first?
Sure. So last month I forgot to bring up that in the office, we've had just a few incidents of the public walking behind our counter. Luckily, I've been able to get them to go back, which is a concern because we collect so much money in, you know, school taxes, county taxes. I did step out early a couple weeks ago, but we did have an incident where we had to lock and shut the doors and the police had to come down. So I just want to make the board aware of that. I don't really have anything in the office to keep people from walking behind the counter. I mean, I have a half a door, but it doesn't matter. They still just come behind it. But I did just want to make sure the board was aware of that. We have had a few incidents. Luckily, they got back. And
first time, public not allowed on this point. I mean, there's a door there. The public's actually opened the door, walking in behind that.
we had a,
Yes.
yeah, we have just that half a door. And we actually had two gentlemen come into the office. They had to purchase something in Messina, but came to my office to ask me to help correct it. And our front counter phone was broken. So I had to go to my desk to make the phone call. And they just came right behind, like leaning over my desk. Like I asked them several times to go back. Leanna asked them several times to go back. It did take a while to get them, but I mean, they eventually did, but it's just nerve wracking. I mean, you never know. But I just want to make sure you guys were aware that that was going on.
Stop doing whatever I was doing until they returned to the outside.
But I mean, really, if anybody wanted to come behind my counter, that plexiglass, just push it right over. It's not screwed into the counter. There's really no anything keeping people behind from coming down. But I want to thank the highway department. Mike Shaw and Leland made a beautiful table for my boat. Absolutely beautiful. They did a great job. Did more than I asked. We've been pretty busy in December, just starting to box everything up from 22 and get ready for this year. That's still work in progress. I got a stack of files that need to be disposed of, but I have to meet with all the department heads first, have them sign off on the disposition form before I can do any of that. So hopefully I'll start that at the end of January. I worked on a FOIL request with Mike. I also worked on Mike's code officer portion of the website. We spent a half day doing that, but there have been issues with the website for about a few weeks now. If anybody's been trying to get on the calendar, you can't do the calendar. Sally and I have been going back and forth with North Shore Solutions. Today, the calendar was up, so, but other things weren't there. So was it not there when you went? Oh, it was for like a hot second. The calendar was back up and working, but we are discussing this on the communications and technology community side. So, but it's just an ongoing issue and it's frustrating and it's hard to make sure the public is getting our agendas and our minutes and is just aware of everything. So
That's going on 2 to 3 weeks.
well, I met with Mike on the 20th
Yeah.
of December. We still have nothing up there. And then just the last thing, that vital records book that I sent out and we already paid for, I miscounted, this is my first one, so I misunderstood the sealed records portion of it. So I didn't count the sealed records properly, so that's gonna cost an additional $340. But they'll charge me sometime. So. Anybody have any questions?
Okay, thanks, Heidi. Linda, you want to go next?
As you know, we've been down there since.
Oh, can't hear you. I'm sorry.
Since we've been down in the building since October 4th. 5 rooms instead of the 1 room, 15 stairs. And I'm on the last room to be finished at Tuesday night. There's a library, adult and children. There's a resource room that 90-year-old registered net created and controlled. So nobody will get back that door unless they have the okay from rest. I cannot tell you what she is. 90. She knows everything that is in the files, and I just love working with her because she's really humorous sometimes. And then Rachel, who has been the assistant historian, I get that right? Not the deputy historian. She works 1 day a week. She's a librarian 5 days a week up at Canton. So she has worked with me 9 years. And her skills in library history, she has culled all the books that are too old to be handled by anyone coming in. She has a list of what is in there. If people are interested, then they have to wear gloves and take it out and prevent it. So that part is protected. I wouldn't have known that. They're so old, but they're so historic. I would have gotten this. She's been helping on it. She's coming on Facebook now. So I'm very happy for that. I will do the answering. She can scan the photos. The last room is the photo room. That has 5 archival boxes. That as far as photos from East Done from Canton. And that will be 5 boxes that they can open on 2 tables now. They'll be able to hold, if people want to see them, they'll be able to open them. If they want copies, they can pay for them if they want to order. But there'll be the township, that's the township. Morley, Pirates, Village of Rensselaer Falls, Brick Chapel, Hamlet, and the cemetery from Prairie. That is the town. So there's chairs set up in there, there's 2 tables, and there'll be 2 photos from each township hanging. So they can actually see the progress that has come through Canton since the late 1880s. So I can't only have a kitchen and we have a bathroom that's handicapped. You will not believe it. I don't even let the janitor clean it. I don't want to. So it's a dream. It's just not my dream. It's for the community and what they will have access to. Frank White, 104, has keys taken away last week, and he has a driver. He comes in the front door. He donated 18 books, and half of them are in the glass case because I don't want young people touching his work. But he is so true. He says, this is where my book should be. That really makes me feel. So next Tuesday, 4 to 6, and there'll be cookies with the town hall on that city cake shop will do. And they'll, I don't know what we're gonna have to drink yet. I haven't decided that. But anyway, it's just a dream of mine that we moved down. So thank you. And John, there was a lot of traffic from the Catholic Golden Place.
I told you.
Well, and it isn't even fully open yet, but
Yeah.
from the Catholic Golden Place, and I love those names. There's a lot of laughter there. A couple came from South America. She's a nurse, traveling nurse in New York State. So she wanted one of the Canton books to take home with her. But she was in there a half hour going over it. People were coming in, like Dana Barry was in today with Pfizer, and she couldn't believe it. She said, I'm gonna come here and write my stories now. I said, you're welcome. And you found those nice chairs that are in the line. So you'll be surprised if you see this. You can come down anytime. If you're busy Tuesday, please come down.
Do you have a copy of Judy Liston's book down there?
Oh, yeah.
The
That's
town
for sale.
friendliness book?
Yeah.
How many copies do you have, just one?
Oh, there, she's got 70 something now, she's got Laura. Those are older books. My son is in the fifth grade. So I don't know how I'll sell them. That, you know. Yeah, Kenny,
Yeah, I
no,
got
he's
one.
talking about the old ones.
How'd you get that? On Amazon or something? Because we were talking
There was
about,
only one left.
we were talking about that when we were
Yeah.
talking about doing our Canton videos, CGI videos.
Oh,
I brought up about that book.
yes, she made 2 editions. But I have my book, the arcade book, that Judy was convinced she was really nice. And just ordered 20 of them, and someone bought 2 of them. So I'll be selling them on calendar, my 5-year calendar. So those are the things that are so.
I'm telling you, when you walk in, you're all gonna get cold chills. But that's how profound this is.
I don't know how we did it.
Turn the heat.
We did it with 2 people.
Sounds like
Rachel, I have to say, Greg Helcock, and he's doing pictures. And then Rennis. Rennis is up there. She knows everybody. She knows what's in the file.
So at the open house, we hope to have, it's gonna take 2 poster boards with the people that have helped make this happen.
Yes.
So, so thank you, Linda, for all of that. And,
Thank you. It's a dream.
it's a dream. All right. Stephen,
Yes. So my report's pretty short. Winter is pretty self-explanatory for us. Plowing, maintenance, all the above. All the temperature swings, potholes are bad right now, but we've had the patching truck out. We were able to get county highway tree truck yesterday and today, so we've been working at getting trees down, probably 2 more days, and we'll be done that next week sometime, weather permitting. And other than that, I'd like to thank the highway crew, town board, supervisor, and clerk's office for making my first year successful last year. Thank you very much.
did it go by fast for you?
Yep.
All right, Lee. Hi.
I have a short report too. Just a reminder that the high school World University Games are taking place today. Preliminary rounds of hockey and Potsdam. This is the grade between passive. There's still a discount code through the end of the day today for locals, 40% off tickets. Tickets are $10. So get them now. It's exciting, good hockey game. The Willow Island project, we are planning a second public meeting. We've been having a committee meeting coming up. There'll be another public meeting, I think on March 2nd. We have the details to work out, but that's what we're shooting for. And that'll be more of an open house style rather than a presentation where it's just times for comment, more interaction, like that. So that's being planned. CDBG CARES Act grant, I think we have heard by the last meeting, or maybe I wasn't here to say it, but the village was awarded 1.186 million for small business assistance and to assist United Helpers in expanding healthcare services again. So we're getting right to work on that because it's a 12-month grant. So we're going to keep it moving. Looking at getting all the agreements in place and doing the environmental review so we can just take off. So that's very exciting. The village, I think this was all on my previous report. The village got a Restoring Your grant for the round 6 for supporting the St. Lawrence Suds without being ruined. I'm still waiting for a grant agreement on that, but the round 7 is now open and applications are due on January 27th. We are working on a couple of applications for that round as well. And we'll be having a public hearing, I believe, scheduled for the 25th at 5:30, right before the joint meeting. So there'll be a public hearing that's required to tell about properties involved in the project. So that's coming up. And also, the village was notified that we did receive $475,000 from the county's ARPA funds, and that will go to help fill the gap in the project to complete the secondary water source. And as a reminder, we have earlier in the year got $1 million from the Urban Commission towards that project. And the village is intending to put some of their ARPA funds towards it. So we're in very good shape with that project now. So again, we have to get the environmental stuff completed before we can really start, but things are looking good for that, so.
That's a lot of money.
3.5
Congratulations.
million in 6 months is not.
I'm sorry,
3.5 million in 6 months is not.
not too bad. Not too bad.
We did hear at least one of the CFAs that we applied for, the local waterfront revitalization program, to update our waterfront plan. Unfortunately, we're not funded for. We have a debrief call scheduled in the next week with the state to understand how we didn't, or where we didn't score. Because we were very close to getting it last year, so it's disappointing that we didn't get it again. Not that I need more to do, but so we'll learn more about that, and we'll just keep trying. And we have not heard for sure on the Green Innovation Grant. We have applied for money for water meters for the village, upgrading water meters. It looks as though all the money's awarded, but we have not heard the official no yet, but it's looking good. But I think that project may proceed. And again, just picking away at projects that we can. And
Very busy. We haven't heard on the recreation assessment grant.
that was the LWRP.
Oh, so that was the. Really? Okay. Did you get an official notification of that? If you could forward that to me so I can put it in my phone. Appreciate that.
Yeah, so
Okay.
like I said, we're having a debrief call next week to understand where we missed out. We can.
All right. Wow, great. Okay, Mike?
Thank you, Mary Ann. As you can see, through the month of December, I issued 2 residential accessory structure permits for the town of Canton. 6 compliance certificates were issued to for residential projects. 1 work without a building permit was issued again for non-compliance. Held 1 planning board meeting for the 295 State Highway 310 project. That project has been adjourned to a date to be determined as they're going through bird mitigation study for New York State DEC. On my report, I had a couple of dates wrong. The Nickerson Road public hearing is January 24th, and the Old DeKalb Road is January 23rd. And public notices have been put in the paper as of today. I did sign up for my 24-hour in-service training to be held in Lake Placid, February 27th through March 2nd. The last 2 years due to COVID, I did it via Zoom, but this time I'm going to go in person. And the rest of the month just kept busy. I met with the developer, EDF, to go over access road details on the Rich Road project. I should be getting plans on that hopefully by the end of the month. And the rest of the month just kept busy with inspections on ongoing projects throughout town of Canton. That's it.
Anybody have any questions? Would you want to acknowledge Ian McCullers here, the chairperson of the planning board? Ian, thank you for coming, and yeah, it's busy. Okay, so Cindy's not able to be here. You have her report. Megan's not able to be here, but she did send 2 updates. One is the door on the pavilion. I think it's all set for the ADA. That's done. And then, you know, that machine that we were supposed to get last week has been delayed another week. The ice machine, the ice resurfacer, because they couldn't find a truck to bring it here or something. So that's been delayed. So.
You should just say you're the low boy over there. That's what you say. Quick to think of.
No, where, it's in where is it from? California?
I thought it's come from Canada.
Oh, Canada?
They're made in Canada.
I don't remember, but those were her 2 updates she said, she sent me. So I'm making a motion that we accept department reports. Is there a second? Sure. Second, Bob, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Carry. All right, committee reports. Anyone? Okay,
So the Sustainability Committee met on the 3rd. It was more of a kind of an action plan and goals draft. One of the members spent a lot of time on it, creating that draft. We're going to look at it, look at the draft and see what changes need to be made on that. And there'll be a little bit more on that later on. The community choice aggregation, Klaus reported. There will be, let's see. There will be public information, answering questions, etc. Likely in the fall of 2023. So it's kind of been pushed back a little bit. So I did ask them about, there was some litigation issues that they brought up at the time before we met. And from what Jules is saying, they've got a very, very good handle on it. And looks like it's not even a good issue. So, and I know they came to our town meeting as well and spoke on it. So it's pushed back for the village. It'll be pushed back obviously for the town as well. So.
well, we haven't signed on to
No.
anything. The village has signed a
Right.
contract, but the town has not.
Right, we have agreed to proceed on the process with Jewel, which does not actually mean that we've agreed to go forward with community choice aggregation. It means that we're doing the public education process, which actually is beginning now and will continue through the next several months. So there will be information sessions. We're actually meeting next week with Jewel to strategize that particular plan. So there will be more information about that.
And then communication technology, I did send out the social media policy for review. So if you guys have time to take a look at that before our meeting next week, and send back any information to any of us, then we can get that squared away.
Any others?
Solar committee, Bill and Eric, met with the school district with regard to solar. They invited us and more or less wanted to know some of the reason. Not solar, but it's related. I spent 2 hours in a neighboring town yesterday learning about anaerobic digesters. And that's going to be at least as complicated as solar converts. Because at
Did you
least
just say if not worse?
well, at least with solar, you know, solar is, their projects and everything about them is very similar. But with these digesters, they're going in either at a farm or at another site, and some of them are owned by the farms, some of them are owned by companies buying the gas, some of them are owned by private enterprise, and to be able to draft a law that's going to cover all that is not very fun, but we'll get there. Which is why I think there's something on the agenda tonight. Highway map, but there's a couple things that need to be discussed in the session.
Okay, anyone else?
Broadband, we've had quite a hiatus. We've got a meeting scheduled on January 20th. So hopefully in February we'll have some news for you.
Did you just see the Lewis County announcement about the yeah, good for them. So hopefully, okay.
Hopefully the county seat in county.
All right, anybody else? All right, thank you for all your work. Old business, solar projects escrow accounts. I told you I wanted to put something together for the board. I'm not there yet, but I can, because I want a more comprehensive analysis, not just on the monies that we've spent from the escrow accounts, but what it is taken to administer all of this. and there's quite a few things. But I am going to report the total amount that we have received since 2021 is $543,362.66. That's how much escrow money from the state projects. Of that, the total expenditures, which include the legal and the engineering, is $116,649.56. So we have a balance. So the biggest thing is, if we didn't have this law, the town taxpayers would have spent the 116 already. So there's been a lot of administrative costs, but I want to do a more comprehensive analysis to the best that I can.
You can't charge them against the escrow.
No, I know, but I want the public to know how much we paid that, yeah, because we do bear a certain amount to administer it. And yeah, so, you know, this is big money, so it's a lot to manage for sure. Okay, so the next item is the expiration of the anaerobic digester moratorium. It ends at the end of February, and maybe either Eric or Jim, you can define what this is for the public. What is a digester?
I would have before yesterday, but you know, I'm more confused. than I was before.
So can you just give a brief, like, what is it? Because
The
again,
basic idea, I'm not going to get into too much, detail, but the basic idea
yeah,
is that they take manure and turn it into these portions of it into nutrients. Or either on farm or off farm. Heat, whatever. That's the basic idea. Is to take manure, extract the natural gas.
so we put a moratorium on it because we heard that a company was coming in, right? So we put a moratorium on until the end of February, but it sounds like we need to extend that. You know, because to create a law, it's going to take some time.
Yeah, we're working on a local law. But we're, of course, when we adopt the local law, there's various steps. And I think we're still getting the handle on exactly what this could be. Trying to, it's complicated because you're working with process that's primarily regulated by PPC. But there's still a bunch of local issues that should be decided. We're just trying to make sure that does what it needs to do to make sure that the county's facilities are done so that.
The one yesterday, that's a $17 million project. The one that's proposed for Canton is a $25 million project. It's not, we're talking serious money.
How profitable are these?
No, I don't. But, you know, they're getting grants. There's grants that they're getting carbon credits. There's just a lot of stuff that's involved in it. But again, it's, you know, manure gives off a lot of methane. All there is to it. And so now what you're trying to do is to harness that methane, take it out of the atmosphere and either produce gas or electricity. You know, I've had people say, well, you know, the state wants to do away with natural gas, and here we are taking it out of the morning. But the fact of the matter is, that gas is there regardless. And so if you can extract that gas, run generators to produce electricity. So.
Yeah, the state is working very hard to remove natural gases. I think in particular, folks like Liberty Utilities are looking at such.
The one where I was yesterday, all of the manure there is going to be pumped some of them pump probably up to 3 miles to the facility to keep vehicles off the roads. And all you're extracting is the gas. So now it's got to all be pumped back. The one proposed for Canton, it will all be transported by truck. Operating 365 days a year, going over county road. And we're drawn from 5 different farms.
But with that being said, even if we don't, if we have regulated on the biodetector, we're still not regulating the trucks that already go through the town of Canton with them that we
Well,
see every day.
well, no, understood. But, you know, I say it's probably, you're probably looking at 5 tractor trailer loads per day in and out, which doesn't sound like a lot because there's a lot of tractor trailers that go through Canton. But
Where's it gonna go? Where does it go once they've extracted the gas?
back,
Back to the farm. And then the farm utilizes it for fertilizer.
all they're going to do is take it and extract the gas.
So this is why we need to extend the moratorium. There's still a lot to learn, especially for me. And I'm wondering about the air quality too.
It's all, it is
Yes, sir.
all contained. I mean, it,
Oh, okay,
all
all right.
but you're gonna have one side of that whole 1 million gallons.
Great.
I hope she hasn't lost.
So what is the recommendation on how far to extend the moratorium?
Why not extend it for 6 months? Because we can legally extend it for 6 months. But as soon as the law is ready, and we hope it's ready before then we'll just present the law. And
Now, we can always.
in that time frame. We should be able, we should,
Because we have to set a public hearing at our next meeting to pass the law to extend it.
So. It's not quite 6 months. right?
end of June.
Going into the summer. Okay, is everybody in agreement at the end of June? All right, is everybody in agreement that we set the public hearing for next month's meeting to extend it? All right, then Eric, you'll just send us that. Okay. All right, in February, extended to end of June. Okay, one quick question, does the planning board need to be involved with discussions on that, like the solar? Is that something that we need them to be involved with? I'm just wondering,
Well,
because they were, the county was involved with the solar law as well as the planning board. And
I
think
don't,
the
I
ZBA.
don't have a problem because our planning board chair, sure, is fully aware of what I'm talking about.
All right, you heard it here first, Ian.
No, I
Okay.
didn't either way. I heard which one.
It will have to go up to the county,
You-
yeah, yeah, okay.
You know firsthand what I'm talking about. No pun intended.
Okay, well, I'm sure there's some.
Stop.
All right, so everybody's in agreement on that. All right, the next item, Heidi, could you pull up the St. Lawrence County multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan? The town, we've been involved since the beginning when they had to update that. It's been going on 2 years. So now we need to pass this resolution to authorize the acceptance and adoption of the multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan update for St. Lawrence County. We were involved, we have a piece in that pie of what the town is expected to do too, and what, what we've proposed to do. So I need a motion to pass this resolution. Is there a second? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Carried. Okay, good. Thank you. All right, the Eco Adapt workshop. So we signed on with 3 other municipalities, town and village of Potsdam and the village of Canton, to be part of this Eco Adapt workshop. It's planned for March 7th and 8th, 2 days. I sent the board, all my notes. The mayor and I have been meeting with them. So only 40 people can attend this workshop. So it's pretty condensed. So we're looking at 10 people from the town of Canton, 10 people from the village, and vice versa over to the town of Potsdam. So the next step is the mayor and I need to send a list of who would like to participate in this workshop. And basically, it is to develop a suite of solutions for our community. How do we want to continue our climate response journey? And, at the end of it, there'll be a report. And the possible frameworks that we discussed are public health, transportation, housing, natural resources, and infrastructure. So, if you know of somebody that would like to take 2 days to participate in this, send me their names. There is a $300 stipend that Eco Adapt will pay if someone has to take the day off of work. So, $600 for the 2 days. So, yeah, so did you have anything to add to that? Okay. All right, the next item is set public hearing for rescinding the tax cap law. So do we want to do that in February as well? Yeah. Okay. So we didn't set a time though. Our meetings are at 6:30. Can we do the public hearings earlier?
Long as court's done.
As long as court's
The
done.
guy set up again right before you guys got here.
Court wasn't done.
Well, they weren't done.
So do we want to shoot for 6:15 and then we have to do it at 6:30 for these public hearings?
Well, could we do,
Yeah,
how many people are showing up for these? Can we do them? Could we start upstairs? Do the public hearings up there? There's room enough for the number of people that would be coming in, and then come back down here.
well, it's a matter of setup.
Right, I would
Yeah,
have to
well,
step away.
yeah.
too, if I have to come set up the boardroom.
Well, we
That's
should-
right, you gotta
Well,
set
we
this
shoot
up.
for
and that
6:15 for
set
both
up.
of them.
Yeah, yeah. Not
All
really.
right, and
Not really.
6:15 for both. Okay, great. New business, discuss local law establishing a local government code enforcement program, and we need to consider a public hearing for that. So Mike has sent this is a state directive. Mike, did you tell me 2004? that this
2007. Started in 2006. 2007 was when the town of Canton adopted it.
Okay, so now we have to update it according to the state. So, Mike has sent us all this lovely packet, and then Eric has reviewed it and you condensed it a little bit. And so,
I've tried to take out as much as I thought was appropriate.
I'll look at it.
Yeah, send it around to everyone. I mean, the idea is it's designed to provide for the enforcement of the uniform fire prevention building. Take a look at it. It's based on the model law. The state recommends that. Again, I tried to take the model law and make it.
and every code office has to do this.
Sure.
They should, okay, all right. So do you want to set a public hearing
Is
or?
there a timeline to have it adopted?
December 31st, 2022.
So do we want
And I'm
to,
not kidding.
so do we have a third public hearing? Next month? Okay, all right. Whew. Complete Streets local law considered setting a public hearing. So the Complete Streets Committee, you have the packet that Toby has forwarded us. And I'm gonna be honest, I haven't had time to really digest it or look at it close enough. I don't know about the rest of the board, but this is being recommended by the Complete Streets Committee to codify complete streets into a local law. So there's not a timeline on this.
No, there's not a timeline on it. It's the two resolutions from the town and village in 2016.
Yeah.
The intention was to move to law. The village passed the law last January and included it in their rewrite of their code book.
Mhm.
And I was working on this, the assumption that the consultant was also working on the zoning and the code book for the town. And so I wanted to dovetail with that. So we got complete streets into both the town and village law. This law is patterned after the village with appropriate changes for the town. Summarize those changes rather quickly. To say we acknowledge the difference in the highway superintendent and the way that position is elected. So it acknowledges that. It also acknowledges the composition of the task force being 5 members, 3 from the village, 2 from the town. That's different from the resolution that you passed in 2016. Otherwise, the 2 laws are identical. The one passed by the village and the draft.
Okay. The one thing that did jump out at me is the recommendation of a proposed resolution for the town to tell you when you can have your meetings. That's in here.
Well,
And I'm like, I don't know that that's our
that's not part of
job.
the law.
I'm sorry?
That's not part of the law. We passed 3 resolutions at that meeting a month ago, one of which said the Complete Streets Task Force will now meet according to this schedule.
Okay, so the committee passed that.
Committee task
Not
force,
yet.
for our benefit and for the public, so that it's predicted.
Okay,
Those dates are all in the calendar. That's not.
right. But it looks like it's being proposed that you would like us to pass a resolution for your meeting times and dates. And again, I'll have to review it again. Okay, so what would the board like to do? Do we want to table it so we can think about it more?
Mary and I talked about it, and she had some suggestions. You want me to go through it?
Yeah, and I've sat in on meetings and I've been through it and looking at it again, even as early as today. One thing that did strike me that, and maybe it doesn't matter, but the task force would be made up of 3 village residents and 2 town residents.
Right. That was the recommendation.
Is
a couple months ago.
when you say 2 town residents, do you mean town outside? Because village residents are town residents, so it's conceivable if you're just talking town residents, that the whole task force could be made up of people from the village of Canton. The other part of it is, if you go through the law, it says that the task force will not have any say in regular maintenance of the highways, the snow plowing, the mowing, whatever, regular maintenance. That's the only thing that village residents pay for. The task force would have a lot of say in road construction, and village residents pay nothing towards road construction. And I'm a little bit, maybe it's just me, but I'm a little bit concerned about having a task force made up of people that have say in something that they're not invested in. That concerns me a little bit. And so that was one thing that jumped out at me today.
We'd be happy to work on that wording because the sense of the task force was not to be mandatory in any area, but rather recommending and consulting. So you make a very good point about the town residents inside and outside. Clearly, that needs to be defined. But the other point, we need to work on that language so that we are a consultants body. We don't establish any kind of policy or directive. We are strictly consultants. So happy to work on that.
Okay.
We'll have your, if you could look at it as well. and say what this is, non-owned business for government. All right, great, thank you. We've already kind of discussed the interfund loan to the A account. The social media policy, this came out of the Communications and Technology Committee.
Yep.
So, John and Bob, do you want to speak to that real quick?
Well, simply put, we put together the communication technology committee put together this policy for the village and the town. But before we make it official, we all kind of need to look at it to determine if it's exactly the language that we want. So, and we'd like to actually have that done. Correct me if I'm wrong, Anna. Also, we'd like to have that done by the meeting, so that we can do something at the joint meeting. So it would be voted on at the joint meeting. So if we could get our information completed by, before then, and get any of the updates that need to be updated in by that meeting, then we can pass it.
The one thing that did jump out at me is, elected officials and Facebook accounts as an elected official. So, you know what I mean? And so I have some suggestions and thoughts about it, and I'll send it to you guys. Okay. All right. Any other questions on that? All right, the next item is the Association of Towns Annual Meeting. You got the resolutions of the, I am the delegate. I will be going to that in February and voting on these. Out of the 11 resolutions that the Association of Towns is looking to pass, or, have on the table, is there any of them, are there any of them that you think that we shouldn't be voting yes on? And I'll read the list real quick. Preserve and support home rule, support highway, bridge, and transportation funding, strengthen state and local government partnerships by increasing local revenue sharing program funding, reform inequities in the real property tax cap formula, support affordable housing while preserving local authority, support the expansion of cellular and broadband service while preserving local authority, provide all towns with the authority to set speed limits on local roads, increase justice court funding, prior written notice for trees planted and maintained by towns, amend civil service rules to foster a more efficient hiring process for public employers, and amend prevailing wage regulations. Is there anything? I actually support them all. I need direction on how you want me to vote.
Yeah, that's for me.
Jim, you're good? Okay, very good. The next item on the agenda is the St. Lawrence County Full Harmless Service for 2023. Heidi, if you could pull that up. This is an annual resolution that we pass every year, and basically it's about a cooperative agreement with the county, and we pass it every year. So is there a motion to approve this resolution?
Second.
All right. And this is holding harmless the county of St. Lawrence for providing service for 2023. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, carried. All right, the last item on the agenda is public comment. there any public comment? Toby?
My interest in speaking to you tonight has to do with the website, social media, the electronic means of communication. I would like to recommend and strongly encourage the town and village to get professional assistance with both of those. My professional background in both of them, I have no interest in doing anything. I'm just saying my background indicates that if you don't maintain a website and keep it functioning and robust, somebody looks at it, you get very tired very quickly of getting, oops, can't load the file. So we're at that point. A considerable amount of money was spent some years ago to rewrite the town of Canton website. It's now fallen into some sense of disrepair. Not willful, but simply benign neglect. I encourage you to get some professional help that is responsive. If the company you have is not responding, fire them. With the absence of other forms of communication, we're driving it to electronic forms. And if you're going to embark on the Facebook world and other forms of communication, let's not be making all the mistakes that the rest of the world has already taught us we shouldn't be doing. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Toby. Anybody else? All right, I need a motion to go into executive session. This is employment history of particular persons. Second? I'll second it. All in favor? Aye. Carried. All right, thank you, everybody. Oh, that's not bad. That's not bad.